Am I in? Looks like I'm in. Alright, cool. You guys get the beautiful scenery in the background there. But anyways, this video right here, as you can tell by the title, this is going to be part one of two parts of from when I first started weightlifting or bodybuilding, first got into it up until currently at 20, going to be turning 21 in about 3 months. So actually more like 5 months. I was way off. 5 months. My birthday's in April, and it's currently it's the beginning of November. So anyways, timestamps in the description as always. I'll have timestamps down there for each year. This video right here is going to be from 12 years old up until 16 years old. So the first half, then this part two will be from 16 years old up until currently, basically, you know, I'll be turning 21 soon, so the second half. So yeah, thankfully whenever I was younger, starting at about 14 years old, I filmed a lot, so I did and uploaded to YouTube, used to YouTube a lot whenever I was at that age, and I also posted to Instagram, so I have a lot to look back on and kind of have that documentation, so it'll make this video a little bit interesting, I guess. Be fun to look back on basically and talk about my mistakes and what I would change and things along those lines. But to be honest, as you guys will see, from 12 years old to 16 years old, I don't think I would change much. The change comes in part two. Let's say that. But anyways, without further ado, timestamps in the description. Let's get started. So starting out, 12 years old, I don't really have much here for photos and pictures, videos, because I didn't really film at this time. However, I started out pretty damn close to obese. I was maybe about like 5'3", 5'4", and I think I was on the edge of like 180 pounds at 12 years old. You see a picture up there. I ended up losing this weight within a span of about 4 to 5 months in middle school, because I got caught up by some chicks whenever we had a swimming class, and they're like, ew, and I was like, that kind of like hit my heart. I'm lying. I'm not lying. That did happen, but that wasn't the main motivation. But anyways, I ended up dieting down really hard. Basically crash dieted. I wasn't tracking calories or anything at the time. I was probably only eating maybe like 500 calories per day, but it worked. And then after that, I kind of learned how to diet properly. I found, first things first, I found like this old Arnold Schwarzenegger video, like the blueprint. And it was a story about how he came from Austria and came over here and started bodybuilding, and it really inspired me. Like, I watched it probably every day for like 3 months straight. And I started weightlifting. Now, lucky for me, my parents had a little weightlifting room with a Smith machine and some dumbbells and pretty much everything you could need to get started. And that's where I started my training, and I continued to train there for the next 2 years. Now, whenever I first started at 12 years old, I started with my father, and we trained together for the first 3 months or so. And then from there, I just kept going, and I went down the rabbit hole of fitness and started watching a lot of Athlete X, a lot of six-pack shortcuts, a lot of, you know, CT Fletcher, the guys that were big back then. And I learned to track my macros and track my calories. Now, moving into 13 years old, I continued down this rabbit hole and made good progress. And then I actually we moved to North Carolina, so we moved to another state, and I ended up breaking my arm. And this put me out of it for, you know, like 6 months, so it did. And yeah, so that was that. Then moving on to 14 years old, basically I recovered 2 months into being 14 years old, recovered from my broken arm, and started training again. Of course, took it very seriously, as always. Started training seriously, really hard again, and I was training twice a day at this point, actually. It was my 8th grade year, I believe, and I would wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and do my workout. Then I would go to school and then get back, eat some food. Like, I ate a lot of carbs during this time, I remember that. Cereal was my best friend, basically. I ate a lot of freaking cereal. And I'd do a second workout, and these workouts were about an hour and a half long, so they were. What made me do 2 workouts a day? I think there was a Greg Plitt video that I watched at one point that was about 2 workouts a day. Basically, your first workout was like a really heavy, hardcore workout, and the second workout was kind of like pulled back and more like calisthenics kind of thing, more of like pump and just that thing. I don't really recommend that these days, but at the time that's what I was doing, and it actually worked for some time. This could be because of puberty and all the food I was eating, and also coming out of an injury. and coming back from previous lifting experience to no lifting for 6 months because of an injury. This may be because of why I made that progress. But anyways, 14 years old, this is also where I started YouTube and Instagram, started posting. And as you guys will probably see, I've been throwing up some videos and some pictures. This is where I was at 14 years old, this is what I was doing, yada yada yada. So moving on to 15 years old, I started getting a bit more serious with like compound movements. Started learning a lot more about the compounds, stuff like bench press, barbell rows, and squats. Squats especially. Squats became my best friend. And this is also because I had friends around me that were of influence, with really big legs compared to mine and a really high squat. And I was like, if I want big legs, then I need that big squat. So I started taking squats very seriously. I think 15 years old, I was repping like 315 for something. And I just continued to, eat, train heavy, and my life was literally go to the gym, eat food, go home, study, sleep, repeat. And it's kind of like what it is right now, I'm not gonna lie. It's my favorite kind of life. But anyways, moving forward, 15 years old, that whole entire year was literally just eat, sleep, train, study, schoolwork. And into 16 years old, here I made a lot of progress, so I continued to really hammer down on the training, the compounds. My training split during these past 2 years, 15 to 16 years old, wasn't that 2 workouts a day anymore. It was just standard push-pull legs, non-stop, and had one rest day on a Sunday. I just did that on repeat until I felt like I needed a break, and then I'd give my body a little bit of a break. But anyways, 16 years old, we make it here, and this is probably where I started to reach my peak in my teen years. Definitely my peak during my teen years, which is something to say now for part 2, I guess you could say, because you'd be thinking, what about like 18, 19 years old? Weren't you at your peak there? Quite honestly, I think this was my peak during my teen years, and you guys will find out why in part 2. But here at 16 years old, I think I got to like a 405 squat for like 8 reps or something like that, non-stop, not non-stop, but 8 reps at like a 160 pound body weight. So I was pushing some heavy weight. I was doing good, so I was really happy. I was doing good, and then I injured my rotator cuff. Now what what I actually did was I continued to squat and train legs while having this injury. It was just a slight tear, so it only took about a month. It was very, very slight. It only took about a month to recover, but I remember I couldn't lift my arm backwards, upwards, anywhere like that, but it recovered quickly. And then after it recovered, I started getting back into it with the upper body stuff, and then about a month after it recovered, COVID hit. So another thing to mention is that during these years of 14 to 16 years old, whenever I started YouTube, that's also whenever I transferred from my home gym to an actual gym. So I had a lot more equipment. I was able to squat and stuff like that. Anyway, so COVID hit, and this is kind of where my social media hiatus began as a teenager, I guess you could say. I continued to train at my home gym because, of course, all the gyms were closed down. We weren't allowed to go to them. And I continued to make progress there. However, I ended up injuring myself in the Smith machine trying to squat. Hurt my back, couldn't bend over, couldn't do anything for like 2 to 3 months. And this was a pretty bad thing to happen. So it was, especially whenever you're very limited with the equipment that you have, and you're kind of like, I don't want to say depressive state, but being shut in 24/7, not allowed to go anywhere. So yeah. And so this is kind of where the turn happens for the worse. From like 12 to 16 years old, I was consistently progressing in weight, consistently progressing in strength, consistently progressing in muscle mass, and was doing what I loved, basically. I loved it. Did what I loved with bodybuilding. I was bodybuilding for my own reasons, doing what I loved, no outside influence. And then after that, I'm saving it for part 2, but this is kind of where that little click and change happens. So yeah. Anyways, this is part 1, 12 to 16 years old. If you guys have any questions, put them down in the comments. I feel like I went through some of that kind of quickly. If you have any questions about the diet or the training I did back at the time, put them down in the comments as well, because I'll gladly answer. But yeah, and stay tuned for part 2. Part 2 will be from 16 years old up until current, and we can talk about what happened during COVID, after COVID, and just a whole lot of other stuff. So yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little bit different. Put down in the comments what more you'd like to see, any questions, and I will catch you in the next one.